When you think of the small riverfront town of Astoria, Oregon, what do you think of? Most people mention a certain mid-1980s adventure film involving a bunch of kids looking for lost pirate treasure. Others probably have never heard of it at all. But the town of Astoria is way more than you would think. On November 15th, 1805, the members of the Lewis and Clark expedition reached the Pacific Ocean, where for 4 months they stayed. In December, they built Fort Clatsop. It was used as their winter headquarters and was located close to the now modern-day city. During the winter, the expedition team hunted elk and deer and used their hides for clothing and moccasins. Both Lewis and Clark documented their time at the fort and eventually began trading with the native Clatsop tribe. However, the relationship between the expedition team and the natives became rocky, and all trade between them stopped. It even led to the team stealing a canoe after the natives refused to give them any for their return journey home. Then on March 23, 1806, Lewis and Clark began their return journey back to St. Louis, and the fort was abandoned. But this was only the beginning. Just 2 years later, in 1808, a German businessman named John Jacob Astor formed the American Fur Company, known as the AFC. However, it was more than just a company for fur. It was an international empire that dealt with the trade of furs, teas, silks, and opium for the Chinese market. Astor's plan was to establish dominance over the entire fur trade across the entire nation. In early 1810, the Pacific Fur Company was formed. It was a subsidiary of the AFC, and it was meant to create a strong fur trade with the Oregon Company. Then, sometime between 1810 and 1811, a ship used by the Pacific Fur Company, named the Tonquin, and its crew of 28, who were known as the Tonquin Party, found themselves in the mouth of the Columbia, and soon founded the town of Astoria, named in honor of Astor himself. But the most significant part of the formation of Astoria was that it was established as an American settlement rather than British, making it the very first American town that was developed west of the Rocky Mountains. During the War of 1812, a declining population of sea otters and the imminent possibility of a seizure by the British led Astor to sell the town to the Northwest Company, who were another fur trade company out of Montreal, Canada. A year later, a British man-of-war ship from the company took possession of the town and renamed it Fort George. The town and the fur trade were both under British control until 1818. The United States regained control of Astoria as due part to the Treaty of 1818. It was an agreement between the United States and the United Kingdom to resolve the boundary issues between the two nations. This treaty allowed for the joint occupation and the settlement of the Oregon country, which lasted until 1846. Pioneers of the Oregon Trail eventually resettled Astoria in the mid-1840s, where it began to grow exponentially in population. After the Oregon country was divided, Astoria was then officially part of the United States. The very first post office west of the Rocky Mountains was established in Astoria in 1847, and it gained official state incorporation in 1874. Astoria quickly grew into a major port city, dealing in commercial fishing and lumber. It also attracted a host of various immigrants, mostly Nordic and Chinese. The Nordic community mostly worked as fishermen, while the Chinese community worked in the canneries. By 1910, the population of Astoria reached 10,000, with immigrants coming in from Finland, England, Canada, Belgium, Greece, Russia, Turkey, Bulgaria, and India. In 1883, and again in 1922, Astoria was devastated by massive fires. The fire in 1883, which was started at a sawmill, claimed many lives. But thankfully, the city went through the most prosperous year in its history, and there was more than enough financial support to restore the city. The fire in 1922 only claimed one life, but the damage of this fire was far worse than the one before. Approximately 2,500 residents lost their homes, and the cost of all the damages exceeded in the hundreds of millions of dollars. This fire was considered to be one of the worst fires in all of Oregon. But fortunately, just as it did the first time, the city and its people survived. Not all of Astoria's history is great. There is a darker, more sensitive history as well. In 1897, the Socialist Party of America was formed, and in 1904, the Astoria Socialist Club was founded. Most members of the club, however, were Finnish. In 1915, a Marxist club was formed. And finally, in 1922, the Finnish Socialist Federation joined the Communist Workers of America. These radical movements led to some fairly violent events, including the burning of the Finnish Socialist Hall in 1923. However, the cause of the fire was never fully determined. The Ku Klux Klan has had a significant presence in Astoria as well. This, of course, led to racism, religious bias, and anti-immigration sentiments. This radical history was not just in Astoria. Oregon itself was heavy into the communist and KKK movements during the 1920s. The distance between Oregon and Washington from Astoria is over 4 miles. From 1921 to 1966, a ferry route was in place, but this was the only way across the river. In 1962, construction on the Astoria-Megler Bridge began. When construction was completed in August of 1966, it was and still is to this day the longest continuous truss bridge in North America. The bridge is 21,474 feet long, 197 feet high above the water, and has a truss span of 1,233 feet, and is now the most recognizable sight in Astoria. The bridge cost $24 million to build, equivalent to $172 million in today's money. To pay for the project, travelers crossing the bridge had to pay a toll, until December of 1993, when the toll was removed. Today, Astoria, Oregon is one of the most visited cities in America by tourists, and is possibly the most well-known city in Oregon. It is 98 miles west of Portland, 151 miles south of Tacoma. It has numerous hotels, inns, museums, and a vast range of shops and restaurants. And yes, it is quite famous for its film industry. But that is for another video. So before you go, remember, Astoria is full of history, and it is just waiting for you.